In the shadowed heart of Fort Harrow, soldiers mocked Lila Kane as she battled a failing generator, their taunts echoing in the night. Unfazed, she worked with lethal precision, until General Varn's gaze locked on the serpent tattoo coiling down her spine, a symbol that unleashed a storm of secrets. If you're gripped by this tale and crave more heart-pounding suspense, hit that like button and subscribe to Silent Stories on YouTube for weekly doses of thrilling narratives. Your support keeps these stories alive. Join the community now. Fort Harrow was a relic, its concrete walls scarred by decades of desert storms and buried secrets. Nestled in Nevada's desolate plains, it stood as a fortress where time crawled and shadows ruled. In 2025, while the world buzzed with drones and data, the base clung to its analog grit. The soldiers were restless, their days filled with drills, their nights with boredom. The generator, a hulking beast at the compound's core, was their lifeline, powering lights, comms, and defenses against the desert's threats. When it sputtered, the base darkened and tempers flared. Lila Kane was an outsider from the moment she arrived. A civilian contractor called to fix the failing generator. She was 32, lean, with calloused hands and eyes that pierced through pretense. Her dark hair was tied in a tight bun, her coveralls grease-streaked. To the soldiers, she was an anomaly, a woman in their world of steel and sweat. They lounged against the generator room's walls, boots scuffing concrete, taunts sharp as shrapnel. "Bet she doesn't know a spark plug from a paperweight," Private Malone sneered, his voice cutting through the clatter of Lila's tools. His buddies chuckled, eyes glinting. "What's a city girl doing out here, sweetheart? Lost your way to the nail salon?" Malone leaned closer, breath sour with coffee. "Bet she's just here for the paycheck, boys." Probably Googled generator on her way in. Another soldier, Private Torres, tossed a rag at her feet, grinning. "Wipe your hands, princess. Don't want to ruin your manicure." Lila didn't bite. Her hands moved with surgical precision, dismantling the generator's casing. Sparks danced as she probed the wiring, her face lit by a flashlight clamped to the machine. The soldiers' jeers grew bolder, feeding off her silence. They missed her jaws tightening, the faint tremor in her fingers, not fear, but focus. She traced a frayed wire, mapping the machine's innards, shutting out their noise. A corroded connector caught her eye, the fault. Fixable, but time-consuming. And time was scarce with hostility closing in. She adjusted her stance, the weight of her toolkit a familiar anchor, her mind racing through the schematic she'd memorized before arriving. The soldiers' laughter was background noise, irrelevant to the puzzle before her. "Yo, Kane," Corporal Davis called, smirking. "Gonna fix that thing, or just stare at it all night?" "We got bets on when you'll quit." The others hooted, and Torres tossed an empty soda can her way. It clattered against the generator, inches from her head. Lila's eyes flicked to it, then back to her work, her comic calculated shield. She knew their type, men who mistook silence for weakness, who thought bravado equaled strength. She'd faced worse than their words, in places darker than this room. The can's clatter echoed in her mind, a reminder of a night years ago when bullets, not cans, had flown past her head. The generator room was a cavern of steel and shadow, pipes hissing, air thick with oil and burnt metal. A single bulb flickered overhead, casting jagged shadows. Outside, the night was starless, clouds heavy. The base was on edge, awaiting a classified shipment, a prototype weapon, rumors said, that could shift battlefields. Security was airtight, and General Marcus Varn prowled the grounds. At 50, Varn was a legend. Sharp-angled, sharper-eyed, his uniform crisp despite the dust. His scars told stories no one dared ask, his presence silencing rooms. He'd led missions that never made the history books, walked away from ambushes that buried lesser men. When he entered the generator room, the soldiers snapped to attention, their laughter dead, the air shifting like a storm rolling in. Lila didn't look up. Her hands moved faster, splicing wires with ease. Her coveralls slipped, revealing a sliver of skin on her lower back. Varn's gaze locked there, breath catching. Etched along her spine was a tattoo, a coiled serpent, scales glinting, its head crowned with a single, unblinking eye. A symbol he hadn't seen since Operation Black Fong, a covert op in Colombia that cost him 12 men and a piece of his soul. The memory hit him like a blade. The jungle's heat, the betrayal, the blood. That symbol was no coincidence. "Who is she?" Varn's voice was a low growl, not aimed at anyone specific. The soldiers exchanged glances, tension rippling. Malone cleared his throat. Just a contractor, sir. Lila Kane. Here for the generator. Varn's eyes stayed on her. Kane, he tested, stepping closer, boots silent. The soldier's bravado faded, their confidence crumbling under his scrutiny. Varn's posture was predatory, assessing not just her, but the threat she might represent. Lila felt him before she saw him, the air heavier, like the moment before a detonation. She straightened, wiping her hands, and met his gaze. Their eyes locked, the room holding its breath. The soldiers saw it, the tension in Varn's jaw, the way Lila's stance mirrored his, like two predators sizing each other up. You're not just a mechanic, Varn said, his voice cutting the silence like a knife. Lila's lips twitched, not quite a smile. And you're not just a general. Her tone held a challenge, sharp and deliberate. The soldiers shifted, uneasy, sensing a shift in the room's power. This wasn't just about a generator anymore. Something bigger, darker, was unfolding. Varn's hand twitched toward his holster, then stilled. An instinct reigned in. Where did you get that tattoo? His voice was quieter, but no less intense, each word heavy with suspicion. Lila brushed her coveralls, not covering the mark. A gift, she said simply. From someone who thought I'd need a reminder. Her fingers lingered on the fabric, a fleeting gesture, but her eyes never left his. Of what? Varn pressed, closing the distance until he was close enough to hear her breath. The soldiers were forgotten now, their presence irrelevant. This was between them, two forces colliding, each carrying secrets that could burn the base to ash. Lila grabbed a wrench, turning back to the generator. Of who I am, she whispered, tightening a bolt. The clank echoed, a punctuation to her defiance. You gonna let me finish, or keep playing 20 questions? The soldiers gasped, shocked at her audacity. No one spoke to Varn like that, not subordinates, not allies, not enemies who valued their lives. But he didn't react, his eyes narrowing, piecing together a puzzle. The tattoo was the Order of the Serpent's Eye, a shadow group whispered about in intelligence circles, assassins, saboteurs, chaos engineers who operated beyond borders, beyond morality. If she was one of them, her presence here, tonight, was no accident. Varn's mind churned. Black Fong had been their work, a mission where allies turned, intel vanished, and his team paid the price. That tattoo was a warning, a signal of danger he couldn't ignore. Finish your work, Varn said, voice cold as steel. But we're not done. He turned to the soldiers, his gaze sweeping over them like a blade. Out. All of you. They scrambled out, casting nervous glances at Lila, who was back at the generator, hands steady despite the storm in her chest. Her heart raced, a drumbeat of adrenaline. She'd known this moment might come, had dreaded it since she'd taken the contract. The tattoo was a beacon to those who knew its meaning, and Varn's reaction confirmed he was one of them. She'd been careful, so careful, to bury her past, new name, new life, honest work. But the Order of the Serpents I didn't let go. They trained her, shaped her into a weapon, then branded her when she dared to break free. The tattoo wasn't just ink. It was a chain, a reminder that she'd never truly escape. Alone, the room felt smaller, Varn's presence a weight pressing against her. Lila's mind churned, memories clawing to the surface. Her initiation into the Order had been brutal, nights in a hidden compound, blindfolded, hands bound, forced to rewire live circuits under threat of death. Failure meant a bullet, success meant another test. She'd been 16, a runaway with nowhere to go, plucked from the streets by a recruiter who saw her potential. They taught her everything. Locks, circuits, blades, poisons. She'd excelled, her fingers nimble, her mind sharp. But the cost was her soul. She'd seen their true aim: chaos for profit, lives as collateral. In a jungle safehouse, she'd overheard plans to sell a bioweapon to the highest bidder. That was the breaking point. She'd sabotaged their systems, killed her handler, and fled. The tattoo burned into her skin as a parting gift. The Order didn't forgive betrayal. Varn watched, silent, his eyes dissecting her every move. She felt his gaze, a predator sizing up prey, or an equal. She reconnected the final wire, flipped the switch, and the generator roared, lights blazing steady. The base lived again, its pulse restored. Done, she said, standing, meeting his eyes with unflinching calm. Anything else, General? He tapped the generator, fingers drumming a slow rhythm. You're good, he said. Too good. No civilian moves like that. Talks like that. Carries that. He nodded toward her back, the tattoo's weight heavier than ever. Lila shrugged, masking the tension coiling in her gut. I'm here to fix your machine. You want to make this personal, that's your call. It's already personal, Varn said, eyes darkening. The last time I saw that symbol, I lost 12 men. Operation Black Fawn. Columbia. You know it. Lila's pulse spiked, a jolt of ice through her veins. Black Fawn was a bloodbath, a covert op where the Order had played both sides, selling secrets to rebels and feds alike, leaving bodies in the jungle. She hadn't been there, but her handler had bragged about it, his laughter cold as he described the chaos. I wasn't part of that, she said, voice low but steady. I fix things, General. I don't break them. Maybe, Varn said, stepping closer, his presence suffocating. But I don't believe in coincidences. You're here, with that tattoo, the night we expect a shipment that could change everything. What? Lila's mind raced, searching for an answer that wouldn't unravel her fragile cover. Before she could speak, the door burst open. Lieutenant Hayes, a wiry man with a scarred cheek, stumbled in, face pale, eyes wide with urgency. Sir. Perimeter breach. Multiple signatures, closing fast. Varn's head snapped toward Hayes, then back to Lila. Their eyes locked, his question unspoken but clear. Are you with them? She didn't blink, her gaze steady as stone. Get to the command center, Varn barked at Hayes, then to Lila. You're coming with me. The command center was a hive of chaos, screens flickering with thermal scans, officers shouting coordinates. Shadows darted through the desert, their heat signatures weaving between dunes. Hayes froze, his eyes locking on Lila. Kane, he hissed, scar twitching. You got some nerve showing up here. Lila's stomach twisted. She knew Hayes from Kabul, a mission 4 years ago where her defection from the Order had left his squad exposed. His friend, Riley, had died in a firefight she couldn't stop. She'd tried to warn them, slipping a coded message through a dead drop, but the Order had cut her comms, leaving her helpless as the ambush unfolded. Hayes' hatred was a wound that hadn't healed. Not now, Hayes, Varn snapped, but his eyes flicked to Lila, suspicion deepening. She ignored Hayes, focusing on the screens. The Order's tactics were unmistakable, ghost striking from the edges, never head-on. They're not here for the shipment, she said, voice cutting through the noise. They're here for me. All eyes turned to her, the room falling silent. Varn stepped closer, voice low and dangerous. Explain. Now. Lila took a breath, the weight of her past pressing down. The Order of the Serpents I trained me. I was one of them, until I walked away. That tattoo? Their mark. They don't let people leave. If they're here, they'll burn this place to get me. Varn's face was stone, but his eyes burned with intensity. You thought you could hide here? Fix my generator and play civilian? I wasn't hiding, Lila snapped, her voice sharp with defiance. I was surviving. But they've tracked me. She pointed at a screen, her finger steady. Those signatures? Decoys. The real team's hitting the comms tower first, then the armory. The shipment's their endgame, but they'll make you think it's about me. Hayes scoffed, his voice dripping with venom. She's lying, sir. She burned my unit in Kabul. Left Riley to die. Don't trust her. Varn silenced him with a look, cold and final. She's all we've got. He turned to Lila. Prove it. Help us stop them. She nodded, her mind racing through patterns and plans. The screens showed the intruders splitting up, their movements calculated. Send a squad to the comms tower, she said. But keep the armory guarded. They'll expect you to overcommit. Varn barked orders, deploying teams with precision. Lila's fingers flew over a console, hacking into the base's systems, skills the Order had drilled into her through pain and repetition. She isolated a worm eating through the comms relay, her code slicing through it like a blade. The screen stabilized, comms crackling back to life. Officers stared, their skepticism giving way to grudging respect. Even Hayes, glowering in the corner, couldn't deny her skill. An explosion shook the floor, the comms tower. Lila's heart sank. She'd been right, but too late. Varn cursed, his voice a low growl. They're inside our systems. Not yet, Lila said, diving back into the code. Her fingers were a blur, tracing the breach to a secondary relay. She locked it out, severing the Order's access. They're at the armory now. 2 operatives, maybe 3. They'll rig it to blow if you storm it. Varn's eyes narrowed, assessing her. Then we outsmart them. He ordered a drone feed and pulled Bravo team to the perimeter. We flushed them out. Lila's mind flashed to her training, a desert compound, Viper's voice in her ear, cold and unyielding, teaching her to rig traps that could kill a dozen men in seconds. They'll have a fallback, she said. A tunnel, maybe. Check the old maintenance shafts. Varn nodded, signaling Hayes. Take a team, check the shafts. Hayes glared at Lila, his eyes burning with betrayal, but he obeyed, leading his squad out with a curt nod. She caught his look, raw, personal, a wound that wouldn't close. She'd deal with that later, if they survived. Varn grabbed her arm, his grip firm but not cruel. You're with me. They moved to a secondary exit, leading to the maintenance tunnels. The air was damp, the walls tight, the darkness swallowing their flashlight beams. Lila's senses were razor-sharp, every creak a potential threat. Her flashlight caught a tripwire, crude, but deadly, rigged to a frag grenade. She disarmed it, her hands steady, Varn watching closely. You've done this before, he said, his voice low. Too many times, she replied, cutting the wire with a flick of her knife. They crept forward, hearing faint footsteps echoing in the tunnel. An order operative, cloaked in black, was planting charges along the wall, his movements precise. Lila moved first, silent as a shadow, tackling him to the ground. They grappled, her training kicking in, muscle memory from years of brutal drills. She disarmed him, pinning his arm until it snapped with a sickening crack. He screamed, but Varn silenced him with a swift blow to the temple. Charges are live, Lila said, inspecting the device. A digital timer blinked, 3 minutes. She defused it, sweat beading on her forehead, her fingers threading through wires as if they were extensions of her body. Varn's radio crackled. Hayes' team had found another operative in a parallel tunnel, disarmed a second set of charges. The armory was secure for now. But the order wasn't done. Lila's past flooded back, training missions where failure meant death, Viper's cold eyes judging her every move. She'd been his prize student, molded to infiltrate, sabotage, kill. Her first mission at 16 had been planting bugs in a diplomat's office in a war-torn city. She'd succeeded, but the diplomat's death the next day wasn't part of the plan. That was when she'd started questioning, started seeing the order's true face, profit over principle, chaos as currency. Her escape had been a desperate gamble, a night of fire and blood, leaving her handler dead and the order's safe house in flames. The tattoo was her punishment, a brand to mark her as theirs, even in betrayal. Back in the command center, the battle raged. Lila guided Varn's teams, predicting the order's moves with eerie accuracy. She spotted a pattern on the drone feed, operatives converging on the shipment's storage vault, a fortified bunker at the base's edge. They're going for it now, she said, her voice steady despite the chaos. They'll use the chaos to slip in. Varn's jaw tightened. Then we cut them off. He ordered Alpha Team to the vault, but Lila grabbed his arm, her grip firm. Wait. They'll have a secondary trap, explosives or gas. I've seen it before. He studied her, then nodded, a flicker of trust in his eyes. You're calling the shots on this one. Lila led a small team, Varn, Hayes, and 2 others, through the base's underbelly, a maze of service corridors lit by flickering emergency lights. Her senses screamed, picking up the faint hum of a rigged device. She found it. A pressure plate wired to a gas canister, its chemical signature unmistakable. Nerve agent, she muttered, disarming it with a steady hand, her tools moving like an extension of her will. Hayes watched, his anger simmering but silent, his rifle gripped tightly. They reached the vault, a steel door gleaming under the lights. The order was already there, 3 operatives, moving like shadows, their gear sleek and silent. Lila signaled Varn, and they struck. The fight was brutal, hand to hand, blades flashing in the dim light. Lila took down one, her movements a blur of muscle memory, her knife finding the gap in his armor. Varn dropped another, his strength unrelenting, his fist cracking bone. Hayes hesitated, his eyes flicking to Lila, but he took out the third, his shot clean but his glare venomous. The vault was secure, but Lila's instinct screamed. She checked the shipment crate, rigged with a timer, its digital display ticking down from 10 minutes. We've got a problem, she said, prying it open. Inside was a sleek device, pulsing with faint blue light, a pulse cannon, capable of leveling a city block with a single shot. The order wanted it, and they'd kill everyone to get it. Lila's hands moved fast, defusing the bomb with seconds to spare, her fingers shaking for the first time. Varn watched, his respect clear, a silent acknowledgement of her skill. Hayes wasn't convinced. She's still one of them, he muttered, his voice low but sharp. She'll turn on us. Enough, Varn snapped, his tone final. She's saved our asses twice. Stand down.